I drink mine like one of those detectives on TV. I open up my desk drawer, I slide out a dirty mug, I pour a little in, and I take a swig, and I reflect on the hard day, pounding the pavement, trying to crack a cold case.
Sometimes that's what necessity dictates.
Welcome to this episode of the Cool Dad Shirt Podcast.
I need to take care of some housekeeping right now. First things first. I need to buy a Powerball ticket first before we get started here. So I'm going to do that right now.
So we don't have to podcast anymore. We can go live our life of luxury.
Well, I can podcast all day with that kind of money.
Oh, no, I like the way you think. Let's podcast all day.
My day's free to come up with all sorts of captivating content. So let me just take care of this. I'll tell you a little story about my Powerball winnings as well.
Did you get a couple free tickets, did you?
I'll tell you. I'm concentrating right now, Rich. Give me 1 second. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to buy a Take 5 ticket by accident.
I'm actually in. You go ahead and do that. I can tell a story that I'm actually in a work pool from a former job. I don't even work there anymore, but that's one of those things you can't leave. You don't want to be the guy who says, "Hey guys, I think I'm done," and next week they get millions of dollars. Like, sorry, dude.
Yeah, the last thing you want is to find out all your friends just hit for like 1.7 billion.
Exactly. And I bailed out the week before.
Oh, there we go. 3 orders, processing. Perfect. So I'll tell you a quick story. I purchased Powerball Monday night for the drawing, and I went back. I got an email saying, check your results and your winnings. And I did not get the first number, but I got the second, the third, and the fourth number. So I got 3 out of the 5 numbers. And I was 1 off from the Powerball. So I didn't get the Powerball, but I got 3 of the 5 numbers. And guess how much the payout was?
I'm going to say $12.50.
It was $7.
I was shooting for absurdly low, and I still didn't get it.
Yeah, it was $7 for 3 out of 5 numbers. I just parlayed my winnings.
Yeah, let it ride, man. Let it ride.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and I'll report back later this week and let you know how I did.
All right. Yeah, we're going to upgrade some mics, some studio decorations, and take it from there.
If I'm calling to see if you're available on a Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. for a podcast, you know something's up.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Just before I got on the call here, my younger daughter said, "Hey, Dad, would it be all right if I had about 40 or 45 people over for a Halloween party next weekend?"
Dude.
So after my knees collapsed and went out from under me, I picked myself up. I said, we're going to have to talk about this later or tomorrow when I have a chance to digest this and can focus on the podcast this evening.
That's a conversation for tomorrow, yeah.
Your daughters are a little bit older now, but have they sprung any surprise parties on you?
No, I think that really hasn't been a thing. A couple times I've been out of town. My daughters are fairly
they're
innocuous.
Good kids. I know they're good kids.
They are. I mean, every dad says that, and then the police show up. But no, both my girls have been pretty good, pretty low key. So fortunately, well, I'm going to take lots of credit for brilliant parenting, but actually they're really good kids, and I've not really had a major ordeal with that.
We haven't had anything. You know, we had family parties, and my younger daughter had some friends over for a barbecue, a small group of friends. So we haven't had anything big. I don't know what our decision will be or what the outcome will be, but I'll keep you posted and let you know what we decide on and how it plays out.
I'm sorry, what was the number again?
She said 40 or 45.
Yeah, so as part of the negotiation, you may need to keep that in mind where the number you come in at.
I was expecting, could I have 8 or 12 people over for a Halloween party?
See, that sounds perfectly reasonable.
She led, shame on her mistake, she led with 45.
Well, her mistake or her brilliance, maybe she only wants 17, but she's swinging for 40. Where you bring it all the way down, like you do a massive compromise to 20 and actually 17 show up.
It's still a win for her. So, yeah, we'll see. They're both good kids. And we haven't had any chaos, thankfully, thus far in their lives. So we're very grateful for that. The last party, my wife made a ton of food. We were grilling. This one, she just said, all her friends ever do are have chips and sodas. So don't worry, Dad. You don't need to buy any food or make anything or grill anything. It's just going to be chips and soda.
So lots of chatting, some music, chips and soda.
And costumes. She wants to have a costume party.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, that works.
Speaking of which, with Halloween right around the corner, we grew up in the 70s and early 80s. Do you recall a favorite or best Halloween costume that you had as a youngster growing up in upstate New York there?
Man, despite being a slightly creative person, that's not something I really swung for the fence on. I can't say there's anything that really stands out. Of course, when you're young in the 70s, you bought something in a box, and like we mentioned on the last podcast, it's a very uncomfortable mask with eye holes that don't really line up. It cuts your nose, and the rubber band breaks.
Highly flammable as well.
So I got a huge confession to make. So I don't have one of those, but I will tell you, I had a couple years ago, I had a neighbor kid come by flying solo trick-or-treating, and he shows up in a hoodie and holding a football. And I looked at him and I said, so what do you got going? Who are you? And he said, I'm a football coach. And without missing a beat, I said, you really should try harder. I felt bad.
Reese's peanut butter cup anyway, kid.
He got a treat, and then both my daughters scolded me for the mental damage I did to that poor kid. Actually, I do feel a little bit bad about that, but you know what? You should try a little bit harder. That said, I didn't try that hard when I was. I think we all did the hobo thing where you like put some coffee grounds on your face and wore ripped up jeans and. Yeah, I don't know, a hobo hat or something. That was the phone it in kind of costume, I believe. How about you?
The 11th hour go-to was I'm going to be a hobo.
Which wasn't a stretch for a teenager.
Your jeans were already ripped, and chances are you had a dirty sweatshirt in your hamper anyway.
I was 73% of the way there, man.
I had a couple. I remember one year I had a really great Darth Vader costume that was homemade, and that was pretty good.
Wow.
And,
that doesn't sound easy.
No, it was a pretty good one. It was made out of a combination of an old army helmet and some cardboard and some black clothes and some boots. It was actually a pretty decent costume. I think I might have won some Halloween costume type of contests with that one. I was Dracula one year, too. Given my natural widow's peak, the costume, I looked pretty decent in that one. That was a pretty good costume.
You fell right into it?
Yeah, that was an easy one. But like you, growing up at that time, unless you really invested a fair amount of time and energy creating something, the choices off the shelf were far from ideal.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. Talking about our kids, too, it's funny because back then you thought well in advance of your costume, and once you honed in on it, I remember that was it. There was no going back. You'd start laying it out and telling your friends, last week in September, this is what you're going to be for Halloween, so don't be copying me. You would decide early to avoid duplicates. And my kids, I don't know if they're just because they're girls, but on average, it's 3 Halloween costumes every year.
3? Oh, for each event that comes up to Halloween?
Yeah, this is the trick-or-treating around the neighborhood. This is going to my friend's house and her party. This is the one I'm going to wear at school. It's a minimum of 3 costumes every year.
All right, so that's per event. That's not a wardrobe change. Like I went through the neighborhood, I'm putting something else on and going back. It's not that, right?
I've hit 15 houses as Barbie.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna hit the same 15 again as Strawberry Shortcake.
They'll never know. Brilliant.
No, so they're a 3 costume minimum.
That's how it plays out.
That's it. And I don't know if that's unique to girls. Maybe guys are similar. I don't know.
Guys don't put that much thought in it, I don't think. Like you, I only have daughters, but I think I have a good read on this one. I think you're right. Speaking of daughters and wardrobes and stuff like that, do your daughters like just acquire your clothes without you knowing? Do you find sweatshirts missing? So my daughter's back in college right now, and I was down in the basement. There was a pile of laundry, and I found, it's like, oh, there's the sweatshirt I was looking for. I go through this whole thing where every few months I buy a bunch of socks. I'm like, how do I keep losing socks? Yeah, daughters just make off with my socks. I don't know what's going on. I would happily buy them socks, and they just raid my drawer. And I keep buying socks like a lunatic. I think I have a mental problem with how often I buy them, only to find out there's 27 pairs in my basement.
The socks, not so much a problem. We keep buying packs of socks for my daughter, my younger daughter, because she plays a lot of sports, and the shelf life is real short because they get done playing, she takes her cleats off, and then she'll walk from the field to the car with just her socks on. So it's kind of a few wears, and they're all that ripped and stained, and they just get tossed out. So
That's a short lifespan, yeah.
It's a very short lifespan. So we're buying packs of those very regularly.
But I was just thinking, and maybe you agree, as being a parent, it's kind of endearing and annoying at the same time, like most things as a parent.
It is sweet when she reaches in it and pulls a sweatshirt out of my closet and wears it. But as a dad, it's not like I have 17 in my closet. Exactly. She's got at least 15 unused in her closet, ready to go, and she yanks out one or two of the three that I got.
There is a Taylor Swift-sized wardrobe that my daughter's maintained, and you're rating my sweatshirts, yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Take one of two of my sweatshirts. No, really, go ahead. Leave it in your locker all weekend at school. It's no worries. I'll get it back, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever's good for you.
Exactly. Dad's wandering around muttering to himself, where the hell's my sweatshirt?
Yeah. In fact, leave it there till spring when you finally have to clean out your locker. I'm okay with that. Do your girls go through gallons of conditioner a week? I bought a bottle of conditioner. It might have been 2017, and I'm still using it. I still have conditioner in there. My daughters, every weekend, were out of conditioner. I need to get some immediately to wash my hair. So every weekend, it's a restocking of gallons and gallons of hair conditioner.
Oh, totally agree. And it's a complete crisis every time. Like the world is coming unglued. We're unraveling here. How could this possibly happen? And so it cracks me up too when we go to buy these and they pick up one bottle. I'm like, no. Why don't you pick up three of those? I don't want to do this again for a while.
I don't know where all the conditioner goes. They have long hair. I know it requires a little more than a dime-sized portion in the palm of your hand.
That us dads are dealing with, yes.
I just don't know where it all goes. And the bottles are huge. The bottles are probably a quart and a half. They're giant. They got a big pump on them. And then they set them up in the shower. And the next thing I know, like it says on the shampoo, rinse and repeat. The same exercise next weekend at CVS.
How many times are we repeat? Congress really needs to look, for all the other problems we have in the world, Congress needs to look into big shampoo and conditioner and get to the bottom of the price gouging and taking advantage of our nation's youth.
It has monopolized the conditioner market.
Even cool dads need to set some ambiance once in a while. Whether it's holiday visitors, a romantic evening, or podcast guests sitting in your ridiculous makeshift living room studio, you can enhance the experience with a custom candle scent from Wick Apothecary. These clean-burning, soy-based candles are handmade by Michelle in upstate New York. Today's in-studio scent is Evergreen Forest, perfectly complementing this autumn evening. So head over to Etsy and search on Wick Apothecary. That's two words, WICK-APOTHECARY, and start enjoying the warm and cozy.
You're listening to the Cool Dad Shirt Podcast with Rich and Mike.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, where you can post a comment or DM us a question. Thanks for listening. So I don't know if this is exclusive to guitar players, because I don't know that it translates over to drummers, but you let me know. Okay. There's this whole thing about vintage guitars. Back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the guitars were finished with a nitrocellulose lacquer. It's very thin, and over time it was very easy to chip between sweat and beating on it. So you get these great-looking vintage guitars with lots of road wear on them, and they look super, super cool. Starting, I think, I'm not sure when it started, but certainly by the 80s and 90s, guitar companies started putting this really thick polyurethane on, which is indestructible. It's actually bulletproof. You can throw it down a flight of stairs. You'll have no marks on it whatsoever. So in one sense, the product is a lot better with the finish, But it's impossible these days to attain a road-worn looking guitar, which is a little bit of a disappointment. So what a lot of companies now are doing, for extra money, of course, you can buy what they call a relict guitar, where they take these guitars, it's a brand new guitar, but they run it through the process of an aging thing. They finish it with nitro lacquer, and they go through a process of chipping things off and adding like salt water to the body to kind of give it this vintage looking thing. The fretboard, the edges are kind of worn down to simulate what it feels like, 40 years of your hand going up and down the neck to do all this stuff like this. And people have very strong opinions about this. And I was definitely in the camp with, well, it's fake. Don't pay for fake. Why don't you just wear out your own guitar as proper? But as I mentioned, that's impossible to do with a modern guitar. So I've always kind of been against that. And then one time I met my brother. We went to Rudy's Music in Soho in Lower Manhattan, and we were just checking out. It's a super cool store. If you're ever in New York City, you got to check out Rudy's. I think they have an uptown and a downtown location. But I picked up this relict Fender Telecaster, and it was made just for Rudy's. They said it's the Rudy's edition. They only had a handful, or maybe it was only one, and it was completely relict. And I picked it up. The guy was like, "Oh, you got to try this." I plugged it into this high-end Magnatone amplifier, and it really did sound like angels singing. It was amazing. And I got to tell you, holding it in my hand, I was almost a convert. I'm like, this thing feels like a really well-weathered, wonderful guitar. But I sort of felt like a poser because I was holding. So I'm still on the fence with this thing. Once I played one, I totally see why people like this, but it was completely fake and fabricated. And I'm not sure where I stand on that now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is it all for visual effect, or does the neck feel broken in and enables you to play differently or better? Is there any technical benefit to having something worn down?
So, Mike, here's the problem. You're exactly right. I think most people buy relic guitars because it looks like you're a seasoned pro, you've got vintage equipment, and you're super cool, and you play so much you've worn the guitar down. That probably is the largest part of that market. But instruments, I mean, they're wood. They do feel different after decades of playing them. It kind of molds into human usage, and that is kind of nice. So I'm a little on the fence. I don't have one. I'm not sure I'm going to buy one. That costs a lot more money.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, and I'm not sure that translates over to the drumming world like you. I don't really know. It's not quite the same. But this is the craziness of guitar players.
Yeah, and this may be a bad analogy, but if you compared it to a pair of shoes, right? If everybody got the same new pair of shoes and put them on after, 4 or 5 months, the shoes would wear differently, and they would wear based on the way you walked or the way you stood. However, if you swapped shoes with somebody, they would feel completely uncomfortable or awkward because they would be broken into somebody else's foot. I wonder if the guitar, as they're breaking them in and wearing them, it's the only way they're breaking that guitar in. It's going to feel, again, the same to everybody other than just a little different from the way they process it without the natural aging or without the forced aging.
the very unnatural aging with machinery and chemicals, yes.
Yeah. I didn't do a good job explaining that, but yeah.
No, I assume they go for a generic thing, and the entire edge of the fretboard is worn a little bit, and that actually is quite nice, and it has a good feel about it. But there's something very inauthentic about it that is hard for me to get past.
I don't think there's anything equivalent in the drum world. There are some drum manufacturers that make some metal drums that are more of a raw finish. So instead of polishing the brass or polishing the aluminum or the stainless steel, some drum makers leave that raw and unfinished. Doesn't necessarily feel any different. It might sound a little different. Most people, their equipment sort of wears out over time from being on the road. I think most drummers try to maintain. I don't think anybody wants to play a gig with the drum set that was artificially made to look really crappy.
It's
You know? Like,
Well,
"Oh, I got this nice new DW kit, but I'm gonna bring this old Tama that they designed to look really busted up, like I dropped it down the stairs."
I spent the entire weekend chucking the snare down my down my staircase, and I finally got. Well, the difference with drums is there's not a feel component, right? There's a like you're hitting with
hitting them.
sticks, right? Yeah. So the guitar is a little bit more tactile and hands-on because you're actually wrapping your hand around the instrument itself. So that's probably the difference.
And now, to your point, there's a large variety of drumsticks that they make. Some are raw wood, some have a varnish on them, some have a dipped rubber grip. So they are altering the drumsticks to have different feels for different people's tastes. But again, that's more of a comfort and not for visual effects.
Speaking of music, do we dive into some hearing loss now?
Excellent, yes. And for the listeners, I don't recall how we started talking about hearing. How did we land on that?
I told the story with the unreasonable argument with a young child about my hearing loss and how they ganged up on me and insisting since I was over 40, I couldn't hear a mosquito anymore, to which I took way too much time defending unreasonably this very silly argument that you don't turn 40 and can't hear stuff anymore. Now, that said, shortly after discussing this, I stumbled onto a post on Instagram that talked about, guess your age or find your age with your hearing loss. And it just ran through an entire frequency spectrum from, I think it was 100 Hertz up to 16K or something like that. And so I took it and I came up with a number which guessed my age. And I had a couple observations above and beyond just the silliness of what your age is. Of course, I promptly sent it off to Mike to do the same experiment. And I wanted to hear how it turned out for you.
I ran through it, but I thought it'd be fun to actually run through it here on the show. I'll step away a little bit from the microphone and I'll talk through it.
Oh, are you going to narrate your experiment?
Absolutely.
So you're gonna watch the frequency on the screen and talk about what's happening?
Yeah, and I'll write down the numbers that I can't hear. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. All right, let me do this. Here we go. Okay. Headphones are coming off. It starts. What's it start off at?
I think 100
Hertz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was good up until 68 Hertz, and it dropped out at 68 Hertz. And then it continued up, and then by around 36, 35 Hertz, I couldn't hear anything anymore.
3K? 35? No, you must have got way past that.
No, like, Rich, I'm going to check again.
Well, Mike is checking things. I think the perfect human hearing can go from 20 Hertz to 20K, 20,000 Hertz, I think is for reference.
So I'm good there. I don't know what this is doing to our recording.
I'm actually watching this on the screen.
So
it's
I'm
predicting
still
your
good.
age.
I'm all the way good. 86, 84.
And this is the age of your hearing is what it's trying to predict.
In the 70s. Yeah, 68, 67 goes away. I'm in the 50s. I'm still good. Yeah, and I'm out. I can't hear anything.
Okay.
I can't hear anything. I'm back.
Okay,
Right.
so I think you and I are measuring two different things. So the app actually starts at age 100 and starts going down in age. So the big number is the age. Down in the small text, I think this is what you might have missed, is the actual hertz and the cycles.
I'm going to have to edit this whole thing out.
Edit
I'm an
it
idiot.
down. Well, listen to the middle, because while you had your headphones off, I said for reference, the perfect human hearing, I believe, goes from 20 hertz to 20K. So we'll pause for a second. Yeah.
So I'm watching it right now. Oh, man. So that's years old. I don't know why I didn't pick that up, Rich.
Well, I will tell you this. As I listened to it, I have to admit, as goofy as this was, I was still interested, but as silly as it was, I listened to it, and as it went through the frequency response, I noticed when it hit like 9,700 kilohertz, I had a little dip where I heard nothing for like a half a second. That's concerning. I should look up what frequencies
97, huh?
Yeah. But then it kept going, and I could hear it again right through 10K. It started sputtering out around 10. And I got to the high end of 11K, and that's where it ended. So interestingly enough, I don't have my phone. Let me find my phone. I hit the pause button. If you tap the screen, it stops. I'm like, I can't hear it anymore. Dude, it hit 55. I am 55 years old. I'm here to tell you that app nailed it.
What does it start at?
It starts
500
at
hertz?
100 hertz, yeah. And then
100
it goes
hertz.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Also 100 years of age.
and then it dropped out. I got to see what 67 is. It dropped completely out there.
Oh, at
and
age
it came
67, you got to see what
I got to see what
hertz that
frequency
is.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, you got
definitely
some-
the symbol range. It is definitely the symbol range.
I think symbols are a lot in the 8K range, I believe.
I'm good probably up until around 13.4K.
You got 2,000 more hertz than me, but I am slightly older than you, so.
Yeah, 68 is right around 9,700K.
Oh, I dipped at 96. Yeah, I dipped at 96.
Interesting. That's a really cool test. You know, we spoke about this too. I tried to start protecting my ears kind of early on. And like you, I went out to the audiologist and I had some really nice ear molds made. And I'm thankful that I was smart enough to do that a really, really long time ago. And they were really comfortable to wear. They enabled me to hear a little bit, but they filtered out enough that I think was what saved and kept my hearing as good as it is right now.
Yeah, same here. Many years ago, I committed to that. I can't say with 100%. Occasionally, you can't help it. You end up someplace where it's very, very loud. But overall, if you can kind of commit to that, you know, let's hear the sounds of our grandkids and stuff like that as a quality of life. Agreed.
I was trying to explain to my kids the other day, and it made no sense to them, but they laughed, what an invaluable resource the TV Guide was as a kid when we were growing up.
Yep.
And I never got to pick a show, nor did I even care what was on. But I remember how it was like the top of every grocery list my mother ever wrote out. You know, be right by the register, and you always made sure you had to get, the new TV Guide is out. And it was funny because it was like the same damn shows run the same night. It wasn't like there was 100 channels. There was 4 TV channels. Tuesday night on ABC, it's like the same show. NBC's the same show. You really didn't need the TV Guide, yet everybody was hooked, man. It was like a drug, that TV Guide. And I know my parents weren't reading the articles in them. You know, there was always some character on the cover and a write-up on him, so I don't think that was appealing. Maybe it was the crossword. I don't know. But the TV Guide was like a must-have, and I was trying to explain that concept to my kids.
It's not like Welcome Back Kotter was bouncing around to different days of the week. It really wasn't. It was parked on a day. But I do think you're right. It offered some commentary on pop culture. It gave some structure to your week. You could just go and say, yes, Cheers is definitely on Thursday night on NBC, and all was right in the world.
Yep. Welcome Back, Cotter.
John Travolta's debut at TV, I believe.
That was his debut. If you could pick any car from TV or the movies from the 70s and 80s, do you have any idea what you might go with?
We talked about this, man. My mind just went blank. I can't even think of a car.
We talked about your mind going blank, not the cars though, right?
You put me on the spot, and I'm like, I can't think of a car like the 70s to 80s, like pop culture, TV, what was popular at the time.
Exactly. And I don't expect you to already know or pick one fave. I was thinking about this on the ride home from work today about some of the cars. You got the Knight Rider, the General Lee, the van from the A-Team, the Magnum PI Ferrari.
Oh yeah, the Ferrari,
the Miami Vice Ferrari.
Oh, Okay. Apparently, I really like Ferraris. Yes.
The Ghostbusters car.
Yeah.
What was that? An old ambulance, or it wasn't a hearse? It was an ambulance, right?
I think it was a really old ambulance, which is like an oversized station wagon. Yeah.
And then some of the movies, right? The Porsche in 16 Candles. The Porsche in Risky Business.
Yeah, the 928 in Risky Business. Yeah.
Marty McFly's pickup truck.
Of course, the DeLorean.
The DeLorean. What else was there? There was so many. Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am.
With the big eagle on the hood, yes.
With the T-tops.
Yeah.
What else was there in that era?
Well, you had the string of James Bond stuff, too, with the Aston Martins and stuff like that. The classy British cars, of course, the machine guns under the headlights. That's kind of cool.
If you had to pick one, do any jump out? Anything you would care to have? Oh, there's Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, yeah.
What was that, a Gran Torino?
I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember exactly what car. I could see it in my head, but I don't know.
And then there was James Garner in the Rockford Files. I think he had like a Camaro too, right?
The Rockford Files, yes.
Remember that?
That was
My dad used to watch that. That's the only reason why I know that show.
Yeah,
The Rockford Files. Heck, you could throw the Scooby-Doo mystery machine in there.
That was a one of a kind for sure.
And then you got the Munsters. The Munsters had a pretty cool car.
Oh, the Batmobile. How weird was that thing? The TV show
Batmobile.
Batmobile, not the new movies, yeah.
Just some iconic cars. I was trying to rattle them off and think of as many as I can on the ride home. And I was thinking since I played the drums, I'd probably need the A-Team van to haul my gear around.
All the kids.
But I'd probably go with, I don't know, most of those cars were kind of banged up. I don't know if I'd want any of them, right? That General Lee's probably all banged up and bent. I don't think I would want that one. The Starsky and Hutch car, there's probably no tires left on that from all the burnouts.
Well, you hear the behind the scenes thing. They had like 12 of those, and same thing. Every episode was hauled back into the garage and rebuilt, or they substituted another one, and they just abused them. That was back in lo-fi television. You couldn't see all the damage.
I don't even think they were Dodge Chargers. I think they were just customizing whatever car they can get their hand on. I thought I read they were like using some sort of Ford and modifying it since they were going to just jump it and crash it anyway.
Yeah, they didn't have Marvel Studios kind of budgets back then.
They were banging out the fender and launching it off another dirt mound again. All right, Rich. Well, I think it's another good one. I never know. Even when I'm in the middle of editing them, I have no idea. I have no idea till I get done editing and I play it back for the first time. Do I think another winner? All right, so I'll let you go. It's late.
All right, sounds good. We'll take it from there. And yeah.
All right.
All right, dude.
Go on, smash that like button.